We're here at the County Ground Taunton today, home of Somerset County Cricket Club, and we're going to find out about how weather impacts cricket. As a captain, what type of weather affects cricket the most?
Obviously rain is probably the most important part. If it's not currently raining, you have to try and judge. Sometimes in a one-day game you're always looking to say, right, is it going to rain later on? Is it going to come in the second part of the game? If it's going to rain later in the game, obviously the duckworth fluid is vitally important. It adjusts the timing of what you do, so you tend to try and then bowl first so that you can have the best of the conditions later on. Sometimes you're looking at whether the ball's going to get wet is another important part that we've seen. That we had a game here early season where we won the toss and fielded first, when actually it was the best time to be batting because the ball was so wet the bowlers couldn't grip it, and as the game went on it didn't rain anymore, and then it changed and got easier to bowl after that.
And what about the sun? Obviously it's a lovely day today. How can that affect the game as well?
It will affect the pitch in a fashion, the fact that it will dry the wicket out quite a bit, so you're looking at this time of year when it's obviously generally warmer, then the pitches will spin a lot more than what they have done in early season. So that does become part of the consideration. People tend to bat first early season, and then they don't have to chase runs down when it's going to spin in the last day.
So you've obviously travelled a lot with England around the world. Have you experienced any really extreme weather?
Well, you just get major thunderstorms in certain parts of the world. I know Sri Lanka it builds up because it's extremely hot in Sri Lanka. You're talking 35–40 degrees every day, and you can see these big banking thunderstorms building up in the distance, and suddenly it comes, and for an hour and a half it's absolute torrential, and then you're back out again later in the day. Pretoria is another one up South Africa, Johannesburg. Late afternoon thunderstorms they get over there. Probably one of the most extreme ones we had when we were in Guyana in the West Indies. We had about 2 days of rain leading up to a one-day international, and the ground was literally a foot underwater for that whole period of time. And because the old ground in Guyana was under sea level, so as soon as the tide went out, all the water disappeared, and we started playing at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was quite remarkable, really.
So as a groundsman, Simon, how does the weather affect your job?
Everything from rain, hopefully. Well, from my point of view, if it rains, then it rains at the right time, so I could say roll some pitches out, and then hopefully it then becomes sunny and warm, and then it hardens those pitches off. So yeah, you got to sort of work around it, and sometimes you get a bad deal, and you just got to try and adapt what you're doing every day to make it come out the right result with a good pitch, really.
And what about all the equipment that you use to prepare the pitch?
The basic thing we would use would be covers to cover the square, which is obviously the area that we play the game of cricket on, where the ball bounces. We have a very large square at Taunton, so you're looking at 30 pitches, so we're about 300 foot by 70 foot. So all of that has to be covered with flat sheets, and then a raised cover so the air can get over the actual match pitch. So that can take up to half an hour or so to cover up of a day. Then on top of that, you've got the blosser which we use, which can get rid of the surface water, like I said before. So that's another aid. Other than that, we actually do a lot of work in the winters to the outfield to help the drainage, to try and get the water to go through that soil profile, which then helps us during the summer when we get the wet weather. So a lot of the work like that is done in the off-season out of cricket, really.
What about the local theories about the weather here in Taunton?
Yeah, the St James's Church, there's a cockerel on the top of the tower, and so the saying goes that if the cock's arse is pointing towards the ground, it's guaranteed to rain. And likewise, if its chest is facing the ground, you're all right. So at the moment, his chest is facing the ground, and it is a beautiful blue sky day. So it must be right, I suppose. But that's gone down through history over decades and decades. And I think Dickie Bird actually put it in one of his autobiographies or something about Taunton, and saying about he'd always come, look at the church. If he saw the cockerel and see which way it was pointing, he'd always know what kind of day it was going to be, and if he was going to be out there umpiring all day or not.
What role does the Met Office play in helping you with your job?
As I said, the weather runs everything that we do here. You need to have an up-to-date and accurate forecast, and looking at the Met Office on the website or the app, then you can see that hourly update. It changes quite regularly. You've sort of got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen, and yeah, it's a key thing to our job, really.